What's the deal, y'all? It's the man's Gavin.
And it's your boy Jacob.
Shit, today we're back with another video.
Got another horror stories for y'all today.
Today we're about to be reacting to My Horrible School Experience. 2 horror stories animated.
Yeah, animation for you this time. You feel me? It's gonna be entertaining too.
New to this channel, remember, give us a like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications on this shit. Let's go. Story 1. Theater horror story.
When I was in high school, I lived in a small town in the Midwest. I worked at a historic but failing dual-screen theater. Unfortunately, the building itself was on its last leg, and the interior cosmetic renovations hadn't been made since the mid-'80s, when a wall was built over the original stage and converted into a cinema. However, I adored the building and was deeply saddened by its decrepit state. Many of the locals didn't care much for the theater once they started showing movies, and business dropped enormously from then to when I was employed there in 2007. Most of my shifts I barely saw more than a dozen people for each showing, if that. Some days we didn't even have a single person come in. My manager and I eventually became good friends, and he gave me a key to perform nightly janitorial duties. Needless to say, I was psyched. I loved the idea of coming in after hours to work and try to make the theater look more presentable and not a typical smelly discount shithole. I would purchase cleaning supplies myself and brought my mom's vacuum in because the theater didn't have one. I tried as much as a 17-year-old could to make the place more attractive because it seemed everyone else gave up on her. One Friday night at around 12 a.m., I decided to borrow my uncle's steam cleaner to clean up the seats in the second theater. It was a lengthy task, but I had just got done smoking a joint with a buddy, and I had no issue finishing my night off listening to music and cleaning with a buzz. I entered the theater as usual and began completing petty tasks before tackling the big job. Eventually I entered the second theater and experienced a very uneasy feeling. I have never felt uncomfortable in there before, but for some reason I couldn't shake this pressing feeling on my chest. I assumed I was a little panicky from the pot. I turned my music down and started getting to work to try and get my mind off it. I had my back facing the screen and was scrubbing the second to last row near the exit when I suddenly heard a lot of rustling coming from behind the screen. This didn't come as much of a shock, considering that we've had pest issues in some of the storage rooms behind the screens. Thinking it was a raccoon trying to hide after hearing the drowning noise of my steam cleaner, I continued on and didn't pay much mind to it, until the rustling became very distinct. Whatever the noise was coming from under the screen inside the large metal grate that leads to the stage behind the screen, and whatever it was big. I turned my cleaner off and stared at the grate, practically frozen in fear and continuing to reassure myself that it was a raccoon or maybe even a dog or something. The noise became more prominent, and after what seemed like hours of me just staring at the grate, trying to determine what the creature was, the metal grate made a slow and ominous screeching noise as it began to push out from the inside. I continued to stare in intense fear as I witnessed what came tumbling out. A nearly bald head with a couple of strands of gray, dirty hair.
Lord of the Rings status.
Naked woman, like Freddy, absolutely covered in dirt, insects, and blood, came crawling out on all fours and looked directly at me. She paused
Bro, it looks like Smeagol from Lord of the Rings.
Facts, it is.
Looks like Freddy because of the red and like the burns almost.
Old grandma.
Yeah, and then what's the one from Harry Potter? Harry Potter. Harry Potter. I'm good on that.
Harry Potter. Could I just draw that?
Yeah, draw that slime.
She was fully out and forcefully
what the ass looks like.
I'm not sure how much time went by, but I honestly felt like my feet had melted into the floor. I truly thought I was hallucinating. The way she was positioned like that seemed unreal, and although I was terrified, I think I was more perplexed by her contour.
She's on her fingertips.
I thought she was a character from Silent Hill I had hallucinated, and that I was tripping on some really bad weed. This is what was playing over and over again in my mind.
What the fuck, son?
Until she started
No.
crawling
You better
very
kill it with that
quickly
cleaner,
towards me
dog.
What the
without saying
fuck
a single
is this
word,
thing?
maintaining her grin with her head cocked back.
It has like this baby type of granny face.
Hitting her bloody
And it has like a
arms and
tail type
smearing
thing
dirt and
going
blood
down.
together. At that moment, I pissed myself. I jumped over the last
He
two
said at that
rows.
moment I
I
pissed
can't believe
myself.
I did that in one leap and ran as fast as I could
I just
to the
pissed
exit
myself
door.
watching
I
that.
could hear distant shuffling as I slammed the door behind me, locked it, and ran to the police station, which was a couple of buildings away. I gave them the key, called my manager, and told them I wasn't going back. The woman who crawled after me, according to the police, was a homeless schizophrenic meth addict who decided to take up residency under the screen after managing to enter through a small opening from the outside of the building.
Crawling
When they
around and
arrived,
shit.
she was crawling around in circles in the lobby. It appeared to them that she had been staying there for at least a week to shoot up meth, and she more than likely watched me on my janitor days, grinning that toothless grin as I swept away, unaware of her being there. It was definitely the absolute scariest moment of my life, and needless to say, I
I'll be
stopped
scared.
coming in by myself to clean up. Since then, the place has closed and is completely boarded up. I miss it greatly,
Over a method?
but whenever I come back to the area, I still wonder if she's sleeping in there.
Why would you close a place over a method? You just kick them out, kick them to the curb, and make the
Yeah.
place nice again.
Creepy school stalker.
This happened to me when I was in 11th grade.
Oh, story 2.
I'm a female, and I tend to be a people pleaser.
Oh, yeah.
I never like to call anyone.
We got first story though. That was pressure, huh?
That was fire. That was
That
fire.
was pressure. That was precious.
That was fire.
That wasn't a crackhead either. That was.
That was
Freddy's
Lord of
body.
the Rings, bro. They teleported out the movies.
No cap.
Like, that was a demorphized, like, it was a creature.
That was Freddy, and Smeagol together in one.
What was it made from, bro?
Out, reject anyone outright, or act like someone is being weird. I'm also a bit open-minded, and I tend to go with the flow. School started in early September, and in my marine biology class, I noticed
The
that there was
teacher.
this boy that kept staring at me from the corner
Oh,
of my
boy.
eye. I just made one of those half smiles towards him to acknowledge him,
Why you gotta
and
make
went
him
on
look
about my
freaky?
assignment. I really
Yeah,
did not
he's
think much of it for a couple of weeks.
You know that's not
Even
how
though
anyone
he
looks.
continued to stare. He was very skinny and
What's
tall,
on his cheeks?
had brown
Yeah,
hair.
for real.
His eyes were so brown that they looked black. He had a generally nondescript face, other than his super dark eyes. One day, he decided to say hi.
Kinda
I said
creepy.
hello back to
Yeah.
him, and he told me his name, which was Alex.
His
I
teeth.
told him mine, but he said that he already knew my name. That wasn't a surprise, as I have rather large handwriting, and he could have easily watched me write my name down on one of my papers, since he was staring at me so much. It was kind of odd that he didn't really have any facial expression when he flatly said that he knew my name. I just sort of laughed it off, said, "Oh, okay," and began putting my things in my bag as the bell was about to ring. I only had a few friends, and we always sat at the same table during lunch. We were all rather quiet, and most times read while we ate. That means I usually don't look around the lunchroom, as I have my eyes in my book. This day, my friend finished her novel.
Who eats and reads?
I don't know not one person in my whole entire when I was going to school. I've never seen someone eat. Maybe like you're sitting in the corner reading a book and you're just sitting there by yourself, but never like this.
At a lunch table, like, yo, what's up, guys?
Oh yeah.
No.
We're all just gonna read our own books and be quiet.
Y'all like talking, having a especially if you're at a table with other people. Maybe if you're at the table alone, but nah, y'all ain't hanging out reading books.
This is clowning though. Let's keep this pushing.
So
The
I
editing
decided
though is
to
good.
put mine
I
away
like
and
it.
just talk.
The animation's
I
great.
immediately noticed Alex staring inside at us from the courtyard tables. He never seemed to be embarrassed that I noticed him. I showed him to my friend and told her about my class with him. She found it to be super creepy, but I said he's probably harmless and was just socially awkward. I arrived in marine biology a little early later that day, and so it was just myself, Alex, and one other girl for about 10 minutes. I did that half smile at Alex, and then decided to break out my book and start reading again. He had his hands folded over his mouth and was staring again. This time, it just felt awkward, because we were basically alone now. I glanced over at him and kind of raised my eyebrows, as if to say, "Yes?" He looked me up and down very slowly, and I asked him if he was okay. He said yes, and that he was just inside of his head, thinking, "Okay, whatever, that's fine." The next day at lunch, there was a little piece of paper on the table that we sat at. It had my name on the front. Not just my first name, my first and middle name. I opened it, and it said something like, "I wonder what your asshole would look like with a PVC pipe shoved up it."
What? I did not know this video would be like
I looked
big.
around. I didn't see Alex, but I immediately knew it was him.
He's a
I was very
weirdo.
scared to come to class.
Some rapey shit.
Okay, whoever made this shit, bro,
You're a rapist.
you're a fucking freak, bro.
You're a freak.
So you see what he just said, bro?
What a weirdo, dog. What a weirdo.
I wonder what your asshole would look like with a PVC pipe shoved up it. What the fuck?
Bro,
I
whoever,
looked around. I didn't
Like, this is probably a guy that, like, made this animation and wrote this whole story to the animation. And he made it like a creepy
why
dude.
the fuck would he put this in there? But how you gonna? I mean, I get it was like about a creepy person in the beginning, but like, no, man, that was a little too much. That was a little
That was
too much.
low.
Let's just keep it
Nah.
pushing. Fuck it though.
see Alex, but I immediately knew it was him. I was very scared to come to class later that day, but he wasn't there. I felt a lot better about not seeing him. The note itself was gross and embarrassing. I
Now
didn't
this
want to
is
show
weird
any
to watch,
administrators
huh?
because of that,
Yeah.
so I just threw it out. I went to the bus area at the end of the day, like usual.
We
But
don't
this
watch
time,
these before we.
I noticed Alex leaning on one of the pillars with his backpack on one shoulder.
What the-
I literally felt chills down my spine when I noticed a white PVC pipe poking out of the top of his backpack
He wasn't
through the
playing.
zippers. I didn't
What
give him
the
any
fuck?
reaction to my knowledge,
What?
even though I'm sure he had watched me read the note. The
Dirtbag.
next morning,
That's-
I made an appointment with a counselor and had my class changed. She was very reluctant to
Have
do
the
that for
cops
me
call,
because
bro.
we were
Have the-
already in the school
kill
year
him.
well over a month and a half. But I think since I have a history of good grades and behavior, she helped me out. I spent the rest of the year avidly avoiding him.
Rapist, death penalty.
That dude needs to die.
Child molesters,
People like that deserve like
rapists.
There's no other answer. Like they can't. They just make this world a.
I'm not gonna say murderers because not all murderers are bad.
Yeah.
But
that's
child
true.
molesters and rapists, anyone who thinks it's funny to play with somebody,
Yeah.
boy, you should die.
Fuck this. I don't even- We shouldn't even kept going.
Yeah, the first one was good. I liked it.
Yeah.
The second one, I was liking it, and then that part came up. I know I laughed and shit, but still,
Like
It was
that's
just
because
funny at
it's
the point,
like,
like-
who posted it? Okay, like the
I am-
first video we posted was by Mr. Nighttime.
Yeah.
Like shout out to Mr. Nighttime.
Mr. Nightmare.
Mr. Nightmare.
Mr.
All right, yeah,
Nightmare.
for sure. I haven't seen nothing like that in his videos so
Yeah,
far.
facts.
So we might run with some of those, but
If y'all new to this channel though, remember, give us a like, a comment, and subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and shit.
we got this
thing.
big
Slap.